I have a dream that all men will be free.
To begin with, the men that signed the Declaration of Independence knew that they were committing treason. They were violating the laws of England. They did so because they believed in something bigger than themselves. Now, law is a moral contract between two people or two bodies of people. The Sugar Act was also known as the American Revenue Act. It was a revenue raising act passed by the British Parliament of Great Britain in April of 1764. The early Molasses Act of 1733, which had imposed a tax of 6 pence per gallon of molasses, had never been effectively collected due to colonial resistance and evasion. And justifiably so. More taxes followed as Prime Minister George Grenville sought to fill the deficit that was caused by the 7-Year War. That was primarily produced by defending the North American colonies. This caused an outrage and eventually rioting and essentially a revolution before the official revolution. Our founding fathers realized that mob rule was actually the downfall of the British Empire and the colonies. So democracy was never part of the plan for the new government to be established, contrary to what the public schools want to say. Instead, a charter was and had to be instated. That charter became known as the United States Constitution. To protect the rights of the individual from the powers of government, or more specifically, from the mob.
Contrary to popular belief, the First Amendment's separation of church and state clause has nothing to do with anti-religion. In fact, Congress shall make no law in regards to institutions of religion.
The separation of church and state clause in the First Amendment should be noted to be one of the most important parts of the Constitution in the eyes of the Founding Fathers, because of the fact that it was one of the first things mentioned in the Bill of Rights. The back history on that is that most of the colonists came from countries where the church had their fingers deeply embedded into government, and it was very corrupt. In fact, the war that Louis XIV was waging against England around the time of the American Revolution is believed to have been started by a man named Cardinal Richelieu. When an individual has so much power, they tend to get corrupted. So to avoid religious persecution and future religious persecution, the Founding Fathers instated a clause in the First Amendment that says, Congress shall make no law in regards to religious institutions. This is the first in a series of videos that I'm planning to do that are designed to help people understand what their rights are in regards to what the Constitution actually says, and not what the interpretation of a corrupted Supreme Court, a broken government, and the mob rule happens to say. Liberals like to say that the Constitution is just a piece of paper, that it needs to change with the times. But that's the reason it's called a Constitution. It was never meant to change with the times. It was meant to be interpreted in the black and white that it happens to be written in. The Supreme Court rules that the separation of church and state means that within a public school or whatever, you can't pray, or there can't be any talk of religion. And yet, at the same time, that's definitely politically motivated, because you see all kinds of people talking about the Muslim faith and basically anything but Christianity. So it's kind of a reverse discrimination within the government that has become very clear. This country was founded on Christian values. It was founded by people that were fleeing their country for religious freedom. And they weren't all perfect. None of us are. But at the same time, they fled because they believed that they had a better chance of freedom if they were to start over. Well, America's come full circle. Mob rule has taken over. The Constitution needs to be revitalized. There is no room for interpretation when you're talking about the phrase, Congress shall make no law, in regards to religious institutions.
That's basically saying, hey, Uncle Sam, get the hell out. This is my life. We already dealt with this in Spain. We already dealt with this in England, Germany, and so on. This is my life. Get the hell out. The very fact that the clauses in the First Amendment of the Bill of Rights should be telling people that, hey, this was important enough to be out on the top of the list. Well, my name is Anthony Antolik, and I hope you enjoyed the video.